Hey guys, so part of being a prepper is being able to look into the future and see what you're going to be needing. And a lot of times when you have long-term food storage, as you start to go through it and you start to use it, you find out that it is a finite supply. It is not something that rejuvenates itself in any way. And so we advocate that as you get into it, you start to look at ways to have food storage that makes itself over again with minimal inputs.
My favorite homestead / prepping livestock meat on the paw is rabbits. And we have lots of, this cat's so cute, homestead kitties. We have a broad and wide range of meat that we raise, and our most productive animal by far has been rabbits.
Yeah, even if you don't want to eat them, you can use them for fertilizer for your garden. You can use it to barter with people who do want to use rabbits for meat. We had rabbits for 2 years before we turned them into any kind of meat or any other kind of product. And they are, when I do raised beds that allow me to grow food in the winter, I'm using rabbit manure to create those hotbeds that allow me to plant my garden in February.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. And other types of manure, although they work, they don't work as well as the rabbit manure does.
Rabbit manure is by far my favorite manure to work with. It's considered cold, so you can just take it directly from underneath the hutches and cages and put it directly into your garden. It's always a good idea to compost anything, but it is one of those manures that you can use straight onto even existing mature plants. Yep. It won't burn your plants at all.
Yeah.
Today we are opening up, our friend Nick at Hare, he sent us this cage to check out. He does create rabbit cages that are shippable, and so we're going to open this up and see what it looks like.
If you saw me build cages in the past, they turn out to be something that is not as lovely as it could be. The last one I made, where I went and pre-cut and ordered my own wire, I ended up being distracted when I put it together, so that I have some corners are not square. And so I'm excited to see what he can do and send as a pre-packaged item so that it looks lovely. All you have to do is build the frame. The other thing I noticed is that he uses baby saver wire. That's the whole cage. It's more expensive to use baby saver wire, but what happens is you do not have to worry that your babies are going to be climbing through the cage. You also don't have to worry that you're going to have mice climbing through your cage to get to your baby rabbits, or rats. They will not be able to fit through that small of a hole.
That is something to consider when you get into rabbits. There's all sorts of different sizes of wire out there. When she says baby saver wire, it is a 1/2 by 1, and you'll see when we open it up. And these are 14 gauge wire. So if you go and you buy a hardware cloth, more than likely it's going to be like a 19 gauge wire, and it's a 1/2 by 1/2 hole. And some rabbits can do okay on it. My first hutches, that's what I built it out of, and I have really thickly furred pod rabbits, and they do okay on it. But I do know that it can be an issue and create sore hocks and some ongoing issues if the wire isn't the proper size. So he went and he really did a good job as far as using a quality wire throughout.
If your squares are too small, the manure can't fall through easily also, and that also contributes to the sore hock, is that if you're having to go in and scrub the cage floor for the fiber and also for the manure, it's making their feet sensitive, and if you do the 1/2 by 1/2, the manure has a really hard time falling through.
All right, Kitty, we got to move you for a second.
If you end up buying the galvanized hardware cloth, it is prohibitively expensive. It is very expensive to buy good metal, the fabric.
Right.
It is so expensive.
And if you are building your own cages and you do want to look for a galvanized wire, you want to look for it galvanized after weld. And so it's just going to be a smoother surface.
Come to the tool. So what I'm really excited about is the price. The price that you're going to pay for these is so much better than the price you're going to pay to build your own, because you're not paying for the double shipping. You're not having to find the wrenches. He actually has the nicer of the rabbit clip wrenches, so I'm super excited. So you have everything in here that you need. All right, so there's our clips. These are J clips.
And this is the tool to use them. Easy just to set up. Look at this. Nice job, Nick.
One thing that can be a problem with rabbit hutches is that if you have jagged edges, it will cut you and it'll cut your rabbits when you take them in and out. But Nick has made some really nice cuts on his wire. I don't see anything jagged that would cut you or cut your family, or that would cut the rabbits. When I've done it before, I've had to put those rubber guards on them, those plastic guards. And generally I would recommend doing that, but his cuts are so nice, you won't need them.
I do. I have bought cages.
Yeah.
And that I have as my emergency cages. Like I said, we raise in hutches, but I do have a handful of cages that I keep on hand just in case I have fights in my grow-out pens, or an injury for whatever reason, or I rarely bring home new animals. I tend to run a closed homestead, but if I do, I quarantine. But we do have some cages that we use for quarantine, or for whatever reason we have fights in our grow-out pens, and my cages do have the edging because they are sharp.
Yeah. If you feel like you want to add those, you can get them at bunnyrabbit.com. But I would imagine we're going to ask Nick if there's some other things that we could add in, that we could request. Nick has the nipples and the bucket systems for his water on his store. And I'm going to actually see if he's willing to carry some other things that I have found that I like as a beginner or somebody who doesn't raise a lot of rabbits. One of those is the guards, the cage guards, the door guards. And the other thing is the feeders that you don't have to cut your wire for, that they fit in as a puzzle piece around your wire, so that if you go from a bigger feeder to a smaller feeder, you're not, too bad. So we're kind of hoping that maybe if we get enough business, we can actually have him be more of a supplier of other small items that we really like too. When we have babies, we stick about 20, maybe 30 babies, because our cages are 4 by 8, maybe 4 by 16, depending on which cage. In the back we have for grow-out pens, and for those ones we free feed pellets, but we also feed them green food every single day, and so they eat very few of the pellets, and most of what they eat is what we forage for them. But we always keep it available, because at the beginning we had some malnutrition in our rabbits when we didn't leave it free feed for the babies who were growing. For the moms it was different. Yeah, lots of extra. And everybody that raises rabbits does it at least a little bit differently. Usually it's a trial and error. And I have people that butcher their rabbits very differently from me, and they're very happy with how they do it. And and Catherine has found that she likes to keep her babies in with her moms a little bit longer. We have fertility problems. It could be a mineral difference in our soil. But we have fertility problems, so that if we don't breed back really early, our moms go sterile.
I know intensive breeding is recommended in order to keep fertile does.
Yeah. And so one of the reasons we didn't eat rabbit for a long time was that we couldn't get our moms bred. And so once we did start breeding them, we bred them 5 weeks after she kindled. And we would leave a couple babies in with her so that she didn't get mastitis for a week or 2 after that.
And see, my system's very different. I breed only to feed our family, and we have a goal of 1 rabbit a week, and I've got 4 breeding does, and so in order to provide 52 rabbits a year, I really don't have to breed that often. Right. I've found that if I breed my does 2 to 3 times a year, that is more than sufficient to keep us in rabbit meat throughout the year.
Yeah, which is brilliant. We breed mostly for rabbit manure. We have a lot of dead property that when I can use rabbit manure tea, it revives it. And so we do eat our rabbits, but we like to keep a lot of babies, because babies produce more manure than adults. And so we're constantly breeding because we want more manure. And we do butcher our rabbits, but we also sell some of our rabbits because as they get older, they don't produce as much manure.
So yeah, there is no one way is the right way to do things when you're homesteading or prepping. So you definitely want to make sure that your system works best for whatever your needs are and your family's needs are. I can tell you that I can buy wire cages at my local feed store that are probably half this size that cost more than what Nick charges for this cage.
One of the things you're going to see in the future is Catherine's homestead, as we're in different states, and she's going to be doing more videos on her rabbits and her livestock and how she does it. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do it as long as your animals are comfortable and healthy. And I love her system. It's an absolutely beautiful system, and I was really excited to see it when we went out to her place, and my system is going to look totally different. So we're going to try and show it to you from 2 different angles, depending on our resources, depending on our climate, depending on our rabbits. Her rabbits are very different from my rabbits, and I think it will be exciting to let you come along and just see 2 farms.
I like the idea of, and I'm a big advocate of no one way is the right way. So
Yeah.
I think it's really neat to learn and study from other people and incorporate what works for you and what you like and make your system your own.
Yeah.
So the way I do it doesn't mean that you have to do it that way, and the way Julie does it doesn't mean you have to do it that way.
Yeah.
But you can say, I really love what Julie does here, and I really love what Catherine does here, and I really like what so-and-so does here, and I'm just gonna take bits and pieces and make what works for me work for me. If you're interested in checking out Nick's products, we will put a link, and we are affiliates. So if you do purchase through our link, it's the same price you would pay as going direct, but each and every purchase that you do buy through our link does go to benefit our homesteads, and we do appreciate it.
So go check them out. And again, we love rabbits. We have some other series we're going to try and make together for small livestock. That would be things like ducks, chickens, goats, pigs, quail. I like to do all these. I like to raise all those animals, and actually Nick uses these cages for his quail as well. So if you want eggs in a very small space and meat in a very small space very quickly, you can also raise quail in these. And
I raise peafowl.
Yeah.
In fact, I just killed my baby peafowl because I didn't know that they were going to hatch, and I thought that the eggs were infertile. But they recommend keeping peafowl on wire for the first several weeks because they're really delicate birds.
Yeah.
So I would totally use this for my baby peas.
Yep. So the cages are awesome. The company's awesome. We're excited to work with them, and we hope you'll look forward and watch for these other videos in the series we're going to make. We may not be together to do it. We may be separate on our homesteads.
And if you got anything of value out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe.
And we'll talk to you later.